Hi, welcome to Real Business. I'm Andrea Simon. I'm a corporate anthropologist, and we do videos for real business to help companies like yours do a better job of growing your business and managing in these changing times. So today, what I would like to tell you about are some stories, in particular about one client of mine who's been so kind to let me share his story, because it shows you some of the ways in which you can get stuck and unstuck and how you might do it yourself. So think of this story as a how-to that maybe we're thinking about as you are looking at your own business and what's going on with revenue growth and expenses and so forth. This particular company is in the battery design business. It was an original equipment manufacturer, an OEM, and was right here in New Jersey. It was a company that was 25 years old, and I was brought in after they had 3 years of no growth. And that's a very typical way in which we get hired, because 3 years of no growth, we lost 3 RFPs, our sales force have brought in no new sales opportunities. It usually is a catalyst for people to stop and wonder what's going on and why are we stalled. In this particular case, the OEM took specs from big companies and built batteries to their specifications, to their design. And they were very proud of the way in which they created such wonderful battery power and how long-lasting their relationships were with their customers. The only problem was, for an OEM, unless they have customers who are growing, they don't grow. So unless you bring in new customers or your customers are growing, you stay flat, and that's not a good place to be. In addition, what we found was they were, as a $25 million company, a typical mid-market company, and 22 of their 175 customers were the ones who really supported 90% of the business. So they had a lot of customers, but only a few who really represented the core of their business. So with that as sort of a platform, let me tell you what we saw. 3 years of no growth, the sales force not bringing in new clients, their clients not growing. What are we going to do? So we went out into the field and we began to listen. And I always tell my clients to take a look and see who a non-user could be. Who is using you, but who isn't using you? Who could be using you? Who has tried you but isn't using you all the time? What are they doing as a solution? So we went out to their own customers and began to talk to people who they normally never talk to, like the R&D area, or the marketing people, or the chief executive officer. We spent time on the floors of some of the manufacturing plants, and we sat and listened. This is a listening time. So, think about how often do you get out of your office and actually sit with people who you normally don't deal with in a client or a non-client, and listen to them talk about the business and what might be a way in which you could add value, perhaps in an innovative way. So what did we hear? Their clients were very pleased with how they built batteries from the specs. But what they really were interested in was, how fast can you get me some good ideas? Or what's going on in the power solution arena that we should know about? You're the experts. My client would say, but we take their specs and we build to design. And they said, but we really want a competitive advantage. In fact, in one case, I asked their client, who are your competitors? We build batteries. We'll build their batteries. And he said, if you do that, we'll fire you. I said, well, explain that to me. He said, well, power gives us a competitive solution. So if you go to our competitors and give them better power solutions, that puts us at a disadvantage. So I said to my client, do you know you give them a competitive edge? And he said, no, we take the specs and we build batteries. The third thing we found was that in the environmental movement, rechargeable batteries, smart batteries, were becoming really much the vogue. My client would take the charger part of a battery and send it out. So he wasn't making any money on it. He built the batteries, not the rechargeable part, not the batteries that had a charger with them. We looked at his customer base, almost half of them had asked him for rechargeable batteries. So somehow the batteries were important, the chargers weren't, but the chargers were a growing part of the business. And in fact, that was an area of great opportunity. And last, when we really sat down and listened to what they were saying, they weren't concerned about batteries. One guy said to us, it was very, very interesting. He says, I want Danny sitting next to me. Danny was the engineer. I said, well, explain that to me. He said, you have all the knowledge. And my client said, but you give us the specs. So the disconnect between how the client defined himself, how his group of managers thought of themselves and what was really going out there among their customers was really disconnected. The more we listened and the more we watched, what we began to see is they wanted this company to be their experts in power solutions, to bring them the leading edge in what was happening. Not just to design the batteries to specs, but to really help them come out with better battery designs. And one thing we learned was that we were always called in at the end of the process, when in fact we should have been brought in at the beginning. In fact, we probably could have given them better specs. All of a sudden, the whole business stopped, and we began to think about what business should we be in, and how should we be providing integrated power solutions. Up came a whole new name. We were EAC, Integrated Power Solutions, and we provided a whole new way of thinking about power, not just batteries. Now, I share that with you, and I'm always so delighted that my client is so generous in doing this. He eventually sold the business as an integrated power solution business to a much larger company, and he's enjoying his retirement. But the most important thing was what he learned was that you can't sit in your office and imagine, and you can't take clients out for dinner and enjoy them. If you really want to get on top of what's going on out there, you have to get out of your office and spend time in the field, actually sitting and listening to what's going on for your clients. And then all of a sudden opportunities open up. They're almost in front of your nose, and you'd be surprised at how many new opportunities are waiting for you. You also have to stop saying, no, we don't do that. Because you could do it, and there are lots of ways you could partner it. You don't have to necessarily do it all by yourself. But these are interesting times for new ways of doing things and thinking. And I can only urge you, if you want to get unstuck, stop being stalled, grow your revenue, it may be right in front of your nose. And this may be a great opportunity to leapfrog over some of your competitors and offer value in an innovative way to people who could use you and are waiting for you to come. I really enjoyed talking to you. I hope you found this of interest. I like to share stories, so if you have one you'd like us to share, please reach out to us. Our website information has been on the screen, and I'm sure you can take a look at some of the other stories to share there. Thanks again for Real Business. I'm Andi Simon.